Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Data Dispatch. Hope you guys are having a wonderful weekend. However, it's time to get focused on the markets. We're going to be talking about what we can overall kind of expect in the market this week. We have some important macroeconomic pieces of data that will be released, and a lot of people are anticipating to see how that's going to affect the cooling of the economy in terms of aiming for that soft landing. We're also going to be talking about Palantir, and specifically in this video, kind of combining and analyzing both perspectives. And that is it a buy or is it a sell right now? And that's because PLTR is at year-to-date highs. And we've seen an incredible bull run this year. However, correlated with insiders that are starting to sell, one of the big pieces of uncertainty that is coming into the whole ideology behind PLTR is, are we going to possibly see a little bit of a correction? Of course, the biggest criticism is its valuation. We're going to be analyzing that, and however, talking about the AI demand that is showing no signs of slowing down. So if you are a new or a returning viewer, hit that like button, subscribe for daily videos, and of course, not a financial advisor, collecting all that data and dispatching it to you. Pop it up right here. Palantir closed at 36.84 on Friday's market close. One thing for sure is that Palantir has been incredibly successful this year in terms of price action. Sitting now, though, at an $82 billion market cap, we've seen some cooling off in terms of trading volume, but however, consolidation in terms of price action. And this has been a great accomplishment for Palantir. Over this last week here, holding at these high levels after the S&P 500 inclusion effect, actually being rebalanced into the S&P 500, and even with the insiders that we've seen selling a lot of shares, Palantir is still holding at these prices, which is more surprising than I was originally expecting. I possibly would have witnessed or expected Palantir to pull back here, maybe even like 4 to 5%, testing here another level of support at the 33s. Talking about support levels, if there is a little bit of a pullback, that's at the 33s, and at the 30 is at a really, really strong support level. And we've seen some important reversals that have been triggered there. On the bullish case, 40, I think that's where we're going to see resistance. Is that on the table? That's what we're going to be talking about in this video. Now, interesting article to start off with here from Seeking Alpha, talking about seeing beyond the overvaluation debate. And this article, and the guy that writes this article, is talking about maintaining a buy rating with a potential 20% correction risk. One of the big things that they do highlight as a bullish case for PLTR is its balance sheet and its financial health. It's incredibly healthy. They have a $4 billion worth of cash on hand and minimal debt, along with the revenue growth and operating leverage that we've seen that has been increasing quarter after quarter. And this helps support long-term value creation. However, on the flip side, insiders selling a significant year-to-date bull run suggests caution and possibly pullback. That 20% risk of pullback, that would be going back down to about the 30s, anticipating substantial future growth here. That could be a decent entry point for a lot of people that are either looking to lower their costs or have been sitting on the sidelines waiting for that correction. Now, looking at stock analysis in terms of what Palantir has been doing, we've seen AIP that is really being a big catalyst for the commercial side of things and correlates to a big jump in the commercial revenue growth. We've seen strong momentum also on the governmental side of things. Even though those contracts historically have been more bumpy in nature, they've still been being signed. Those contracts are still being sent through. So the fact that these AI capabilities that Palantir is doing a really good job of bringing utility in terms of AI to not just the government, but to also these different commercial clients, it's a very favorable sector for PLTR to be sitting in. And in terms of a SaaS company, yes, at a very high valuation right here, but with the anticipation of how much market cap is going to trickle in from AI just due to its demand over the next decade, PLTR is at the top of the list to get a big slice of the pie. And I think that is why we are continuing to see, regardless of all these different types of algorithms that you could run, because those are all predictions, we know AI still has not been showing any signs of slowing down. That's what's happening in reality, in real time. And if Palantir is maintaining a top competitor type position within this industry, then it's going to continue. Word of mouth is very powerful. And as more clients come on board, and if they have positive experiences, then other companies are going to be wondering, how do I get a piece of this AI puzzle to help improve on their own company? And that's where you kind of have this win-win domino effect that starts to trickle along. And that is one of the biggest bull kind of perspectives that I personally see in Palantir. Look at the price right now, and what could be the price over the next 5 to 10 years? We see them also teaming up with big company names like Microsoft, trying to deploy services over different types of cloud environments, implementing AIP to help speed up productivity and to bring efficiency. Now, the bear case, let's talk about that. And this stems from its valuation. We do know it's very expensive. And right now, people are paying a pretty big premium to get a hold of some shares of PLTR. Now, multiples of 30, price to sales multiple does not match here. They're saying here, does not match with 27% revenue growth the company saw in the last quarter over the 17% revenue growth it generated in 2023. That the numbers just aren't adding up. And people are saying at some point the valuation does need to get more in line with the actual revenue numbers that have been reported on the earnings reports. However, one thing that we are seeing is that the earnings per share revisions are continuing to be bullish. I have yet to see a large number of bearish earnings per share revisions, which means a lot of, and mostly, I want to say not all of them, but a good percentage of the analysts on Wall Street are continuing to raise their expectations for PLTR. And specifically in 2023 and into most of this year, 2024, I'm continuing to see that perspective that is dominoing across Wall Street. Now, one of the big things is, of course, insider selling. Now, insiders can sell for a variety of different reasons. That is a big bearish perspective. That can just be profit taking. Everybody does have the right to profit take. And we've said this in multiple videos that profit taking is not necessarily a bad thing, and that even the insiders here that have had shares at much cheaper prices should have the right, and they could be raising capital from many different things. There can also be tax reasons. There's many different reasons. It's not just, oh, they know something that we don't. They can be taking advantage of these market highs, specifically with PLTR at year-to-date highs and at prices that we have not seen in many years. So it makes sense that we're going to see some profit taking across the board. And the fact that the price action is maintained at these 30s and at the high 30s, to say the least, is keeping me bullish. I think 40 could possibly be on the table. However, of course, there still is that caution. Of course, if we see any type of domino effect, I think the volatility is what is increasing here. So uncertainty is coming into PLTR, and people are starting to question, does this valuation actually match up with the revenue on here, coupled with, of course, insider selling? That's where I think we could see a little bit of a pullback. However, 40 by the end of the year, I think is still incredibly possible. Now, talking about the labor report, this is a critical piece of macroeconomic data that is going to get intertwined into the market at record highs this week. We do know that the S&P 500, Dow Jones, NASDAQ is continuing to set these record highs. And updates on the job openings and on a company level, specifically what we are seeing over here is the September jobs report is expected to provide really further clues on how the labor market is cooling. We do know that we saw from the inflationary CPI data that did come out, or the PCE data that did come out, that we're starting to see trends that are continuing to show signs of cooling to the Fed's goal of that 2%. That's been good in terms of interest rate cuts. And the question is, are we going to continue to see those interest rate cuts? So how this piece of macroeconomic data, when this gets released, how it's going to fit into the market and into the narrative, I think will be incredibly important, not just in terms of interest rate changes, but the actual probability of that soft landing goal. We're seeing the probability of that is continuing to increase. I think that is also important, as that actually helps decrease uncertainty and brings a more stabilization to the market. Cooling down right here is good. and we're still seeing economic resilience. I think if that continues, then the market is going to continue to set record highs. If we see any flip in that in the near future, that's where we can see the reversal being triggered, and that's when we need to focus on PLTR's price action. What do you think down in the comments? Are you bullish or bearish right now on PLTR? And what do you think about these price targets that we just talked about? Peace out, take care, and I'll catch you guys later.